Jane Austen.
I would like to point out that she does that differently every time.
It's mostly the same, but I can't always remember how I did it previously.
It's not pre-recorded.
No.
Just tap it on the front of each episode.
I just do it how I feel like it. The music speaks to me. Jane Austen speaks to me through the beatboxing.
Which I'm sure is what you'll tune in for.
This is what our listeners want. Improv music.
Kia ora. Welcome to the Amateur Austenite. I'm Frances Duncan. This is Rachel Pilwer.
Hi.
We're going to talk about Emma. We're on to...
Chapter 37.
We're on to chapter 37. It is the start of volume 3. I think the start of volume 2 was Frank arriving. Mm-hmm. And then the start of volume 3 is he's going to turn up again.
Honestly, this is the most important thing. The next part of the story, Frank's back.
In this opening chapter, Emma realises she's not that into Frank.
Thank God. Thank God she's finally pulled her blinders off and she can realise who she's really been in love with this whole time. Herself. Jane Fairfax.
Frank does reappear, but only stays with her for like 15 minutes to go and see old acquaintance. And she thinks, oh, he doesn't love me as much as he used to.
He's had some time away to reflect.
And then they start talking about the ball again. Emma really sweetly doesn't want to lead Frank on, though. Some people might think that she's thinking too highly of herself, but he has seemed like he was actually genuinely interested in her. She doesn't want to have her affections entangled with him, and she wants to avoid encouraging his.
She's not wrong, though. I mean, because Frank almost purposely does try and lead Emma on in order to cover up that he's got a thing with Jane. And he does apologise to her at the end of the book. Like, Emma's not the only one who thinks that he's flirting with her or that he's got feelings for her, because Mr. Knightley does, the Westons do. He's doing a good job acting like he actually has feelings for her. I actually wonder if Jane has any thoughts that maybe he actually does like Emma, because he hadn't met Emma at the point that when he had first met Jane. They may have had a secret engagement, but there's no formality in that. Nobody else knows, so he could have easily broken it off for Jane to be with Emma if he'd actually wanted to.
Because Jane would never bring the engagement to light, so he'd never get in trouble.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No one would have ever known. Because it's only the two of them who know about it. So if he had broken it off, she wouldn't want to be embarrassed like that. I think it's good of Emma to not want to do what Frank is doing. She thinks he's got genuine feelings for her, which is fair. And she's like, I just can't reciprocate that. Sorry, buddy. And I think it's a really good point of her character that she doesn't want to waste anybody's time.
She does not want to break Frank Churchill's heart. I mean, he breaks it himself, really, by being stupid.
But we can't control what stupid men do. And neither can Emma.
She'd like to.
She'd like to. She wishes she could.
So Frank turns up. He's restless. Emma notices. And then he runs away to make other calls in Highbury. Is it that he wants to see Jane? Is it also that he's aware that he's on the clock and still has to return to London in the same day? As much as he wished to stay longer at Hartfield, he says, he must hurry off. But again, is that just a politeness?
Frank Churchill's greatest hits, hitting everybody up in town. I think it is partially politeness. I do think that would be really rude if he was in town for one day and he's visited Emma. Compared to the other people he's probably got to spend time with or wants to spend time with, she's probably like on the lesser side. Like, he's got to spend at least a decent amount of time with his dad and stepmom. Majority of the time should be with them. But of course he wants to see Jane. He probably wants to spend more time with Jane than anybody else. He wants to maximize the amount of time with her while not spending too much time to seem suspicious.
He's just visiting Miss Bates. That's all, and he can't get away because she talks so much. That's all it is.
He's having a shorter time with Emma to account for the amount of time that Miss Bates is going to talk to him.
Emma thinks a part of the reason that he might have run away is because he doesn't want to fall for her. She thinks it implies a dread of her returning power and his resolution of not trusting himself with her. You could say this is Emma's vanity, but as we've just discussed, she has reason to believe that he actually did care for her. Is it that vain to think he is making sure he's got the space so he's not in love with me? Kind of charitable.
Yeah, I think it's a funny line though, because my brain reads it as, well, surely if he did have feelings for her, he'd want to stay longer. And I know that she's thinking like, oh, well, he doesn't want to be in love with me. Well, if he doesn't want to be in love with you, why do you have to be so careful about not leading him on? if he's purposely trying not to fall in love with you and stay away from you so he doesn't.
I think she didn't think that till he left, though, that he was rushing away.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's so close, we'll get to see him all the time. Then it's 10 days of nothing. I imagine him being in London like, can I go today? Can I go today? Can I go today? And Jane just being like, this is horrific.
It's like imagining that you're going to get a phone call or a parcel delivered and you know it's coming in the next however long, but you don't know exactly when, and it could show up at any time, and you must always be prepared. Jane can't make any plans for any of those days, because what if that's the day that he's going to come along?
She is so in limbo in every way. This is not where she lives, it's where she's staying. She's on hold till Frank comes to visit. Her entire life and future is on hold until Mrs. Churchill dies and she can marry Frank.
It's such a sad existence. Jane's whole time in Highbury has just been awful in many ways. A, she's living in a really small space with her aunt who doesn't shut up. She's having to befriend Mrs. Elton, which objectively is the worst part. And then she's just in this constant limbo of waiting for her old woman to die and waiting for her boyfriend to come and visit. Oh, it's so rough. Poor Jane. She deserves a lesbian lover instead.
With money. She
With
and
money.
Emma could have set up a house together.
They honestly could have had such a good time. Even if Emma had just gone ahead out of her ass to be a better friend to Jane, and then Emma and Jane could have been better friends, and I think even that would have made a difference. Jane wouldn't have to be as good friends with Mrs. Elton.
And she'd get to get out of her house and be at Hartfield and get to play the piano there and get to walk in the grounds, have a bit more spaciousness. And Emma would make sure that she was getting fed enough, because we know that the Bates don't have a lot of money, and she would notice, like Miss Bates does, that Jane wasn't eating a lot. And Emma would do what she could to help with that situation.
It would have been so much better if Emma had taken Jane under her wing instead of Harriet. Not that Harriet didn't deserve to have nice experiences, but Emma fucks up Harriet's life because Harriet could have been happy with the man that she loved earlier.
How about how Harriet just not mentioned?
Yeah.
She's just somewhere in the background. We don't talk about her.
I'm trying to think of when we last actually... I can't even remember actually talking about Harriet being in the chapter for at least a couple episodes.
Because she didn't go to the dinner because she wanted to avoid the Eltons.
Yeah.
So the last time she was mentioned was her declining that dinner invite.
Yeah. Poor Harriet. Poor Jane.
I think I understand Emma because I'm a lot like her in some ways. People think that she's pushy and commanding, but she really just wants what's best for people, and unfortunately thinks that she's right about everything, so goes full tilt at it without checking for consent first. I would like to point out that I do ask for consent.
I can confirm she does ask for consent and then apologizes to you even if you say it's okay. Emma doesn't do that. Frances does though.
But I don't necessarily understand what other people want. I can just think about what they might want and be like, oh, there's this. Do you want this? Oh, I'm so sorry. But would you like? I kind of get where Emma's coming from, but it is possible that you could see her instead as someone who actually doesn't care about other people and only cares about herself and now treating people like little chess pieces.
I think she treats more people like dolls and she makes those dolls kiss.
Back to Mrs. Churchill. London's too much, so they're moving to Richmond, which is a town in southwest London. So it's still kind of in London, or I suppose now it would be in London, but then it wasn't.
Yeah.
In the 200 years since, London obviously has gotten bigger and the surrounding towns have actually become part of London.
I'm technically from London, but I'm from like East London, like the edge of like kind of what would be the Greater London area. It's still a half-hour drive to get into London.
She's on the outskirts of London, we'll say. Probably in a very nice area because it's Mrs. Churchill.
Just a random history tidbit. Richmond is where Anne of Cleves went after she was divorced from King Henry VIII. She had pretty much a castle in Richmond. And
good for her.
Like she went there and then eventually she did go back to Germany, I believe.
You'd be like, yes, Queen, get that castle.
If you want kind of a little bit of a thing of how wealthy Richmond is or was, that's where the divorced Queen went to live in the UK afterwards.
So they're only going to be 9 miles away from Highbury, so Frank can visit a lot more often. You can really hear Mr. Weston's voice in this and his absolute positivity. He's such an optimist. It's better than him being nearer.
Almost better, not quite.
The chapter ends. There's literally one line. The ball is going to happen.
Mr. Weston's ball was to be a real thing.
And Mr. Woodhouse was resigned. He's just delightful.
I just love him so much. He's just like, oh no, not a ball.
It goes from all of this planning that we had in the previous volume to just this tiny bit added to the end of this chapter. The following chapter is the ball.
Mostly talking about Frank and Frank coming back and the Churchills. And then it's like, by the way, yes, we're having a ball. I think it's like the smallest little thing to try and segue into it.
I wonder if Austen was just like, we already did this bit, guys. I'm not going to talk about the plans for the balls again. Let's just go. A bit like she is in the last chapter. Everyone gets a happy ending, Kay? It reads more like an epilogue, which is probably why a lot of romance now has epilogues.
The final words of volume 2 about, Mr. Knightley was trying not to smile, which he found really easy because Mrs. Elton started talking to him. It's a great line, but it's a really odd place, I think, to finish volume 2. I feel like volume 1 ended on maybe... it was still a segue, but it was a little more than a cliffhanger. And obviously, volume 2's ending doesn't easily... I guess it still does segue into the beginning of volume 3 because they'd spent the whole chapter talking about Frank. And then this chapter continues talking about Frank. But I think this little ending at the end of chapter 37 is just... It would have been a better end to volume 2 than the previous chapter was.
So you think the cliffhanger of the ball is coming is better than the cliffhanger of Frank Churchill's coming?
I think I'm more interested in the ball than Frank at this point. So, personally, yes. We've already seen Frank. We know who he is now.
We don't like him very much.
He's not the worst, he's not the best. He just exists. I just like this line at the end where it's like, Mrs. Bates was engaged to spend the evening at Hartfield, simply to look after the children.
To look after Mr. Woodhouse.
To look after Mr. Woodhouse. I'm sorry. Well, because then it goes on to James, did you notice? And he sincerely hoped that neither dear little Henry nor dear little John would have anything the matter with them while dear Emma was gone.
I love that everyone is dear.
Yeah. We just hope that the children will be okay while Emma's away, because Mrs. Bates, Mr. Woodhouse will be there hanging out with the kids.
There's a bunch of servants that it's actually their job to look after the kids. He probably won't see them unless they get brought down for him to say hello to them after dinner.
It's kind of like Hartfield is the children's table of Highbury. The old people and the children who can't enjoy the ball are going to go to Hartfield and hang out instead.
And that is our discussion of Chapter 37 of Emma by Jane Austen. I've been Frances Duncan. This has been Rachel Pilwell.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, and we wish you happy reading. I don't know if you're going to do another beatboxing.
No, I don't know how to do beatboxing now. It's easier at the beginning.
I need to press stop.